Welcome to Cult and Classic.
Hello, friends and fiends of the pod. This is your host, film critic and comedian Nate Wyckoff. You might be wondering why there's no title card, no ad for the Patreon, which is patreon.com/cultandclassicfilms. And there will not be a tail to this, meaning no ending song or anything. Why? Because this is really, really important. I am well aware that this will anger a very slight few of our fans and listeners, but just listen because it is super important. And I need everyone listening to the pod who loves movies, who loves things off the beaten path to understand this. In the United States, we have an ever-present risk of things including censorship, uh, unfair treatment of people on the outskirts of society, many of which we are as cult film lovers. And we need to make sure and hold our rights dear, fight for our rights, and prevent people who want to hurt us, silence us, hurt other people, hurt our friends and family. We need to keep them out of power. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, in this presidential election, 2024, it means not voting for Donald Trump and it means not voting for a third party. That will anger more of our listeners, but here's why. When you vote for a third party in our current system, it is going to be a vote for the opponent because our votership is very divided, almost 50-50 according to polling. Yes, polling is often, occasionally inaccurate, but it is the best we have to go on. Okay. So when you say, well, Donald Trump is terrible, but Kamala Harris supports police in a way that I don't like, okay, well, that can be a valid uh, difference that you have with her position, which is absolutely uh, understandable to have. Okay. But Donald Trump is worse in that field. So when you vote for a third party that maybe aligns exactly with what you want, then you are removing a vote from Kamala Harris, who is better for your beliefs and preferences than Donald Trump. Okay, I want to read this quick. This is from the 64th issue of Shock Cinema, which, by the way, Shock Cinema, if you are not uh, reading Shock Cinema, you are missing the best cult film magazine in existence. I'm not kidding. It is fantastic. And this is an editorial rambling from Stephen Pokalski, who is the editor and art director for the film, or for the magazine, and has been for forever. So this is something as a New Yorker he said about Donald Trump, and it is 100% accurate. He said the guy doesn't read, he doesn't enjoy movies, he doesn't drink, plus he routinely rips off his own employees and small businesses. These are facts. These are things he has said and he has done. Okay. Not up for debate. It is real. Now, what is someone who doesn't care about movies, reading, other people's feelings, other people's rights? What does that mean in the presidency for our country? It means that we will be one step closer to some sort of theocratic, crappy dictatorship where we are no longer able to make what we want, where we are held in a position of overworked stupor and no longer can push for things like rights and healthcare and money. Money. Okay. If that's all you care about, well, Donald Trump's not going to get it for you because he only cares about the incredibly wealthy. And I'm sorry, but hopefully there's some, but I doubt any of us are wealthy enough to benefit from some crazy corporate tax cut. Okay. I know as a small business, I'm not. Donald Trump's uh, tax changes during his last presidency were atrocious for the middle class. We spent, as a business and a middle class, we spent so much more on taxes than we did before. All right. And a lot of that money was siphoned to do his campaigning, which is ridiculous. That's not what we pay tax for. It's not what I pay taxes for. So that's a big deal. He also went on to say this, okay, which is true. And there's something added to this since this came out way back in 2020. Can you believe this is 2020? We're still talking about this shit. Okay. Trump's only goal is to be adored by the public. It's all about him, not the sick, the unemployed, the poor, the disenfranchised, our military, struggling families, or even his diehard MAGA followers. Okay? Trump doesn't care if the entire country burns to the ground as long as he can make a buck from the fire sale. And that is absolutely true. And in addition to wanting to be adored by the people he sees, he doesn't care about anybody else. Whoever's in front of him is probably the only person that actually will have any of his attention, if that. Okay. Not only does he want to be an adored king who can do whatever he wants, but now he's got what, over 90 criminal charges against him and growing or lessening because he's convicted, right? Uh, he wants to stay out of jail and wants to avoid charges from being pressed and pursued and him losing these cases because that will happen. Not all of them, unfortunately, regardless of how much evidence shows that they are accurate, but some. And it doesn't have to be all of them. It can just be some. But he's shown us a lot of terrible things. He's shown us that our system of impeachment, both for Supreme Court justices, judges in general, and the presidency, only works if the person being impeached is willing to accept the repercussions of that hearing. And when you're not, like Donald Trump, you can't remove him once he's in. You just can't. So we cannot let him in. All right. Now, strictly for movies, Donald Trump courts and accepts the backing of the religious right. These are the conservatives of the social breed. They want things like no queer rights, no gay marriage, no abortion and body rights for women, no rights for people of color or reparations. These are the people who believe ultimately in the righteousness of the Caucasian people and the inequality. They believe that other people are unequal, including those, regardless of race and background, who do not believe in their particular sect, which includes a lot of each other in that group, by the way. They also don't like a lot of each other, but they can rally behind someone who says, just says, that he's for them. And in a way, he is, because he, Donald Trump, is willing to do all of those horrible things that will hurt artistic expression, the availability of films, cult films, and mainstream films in general. All we have to do is look back at the Hays Code, right? The Hays Code is was all the way back in 1929, and it carried for like 3 decades into the 60s. Okay, and it was a a regulation of what could be on film. That's what took the pre-code Hollywood freedoms away and made everything very sterile. Okay. And that was written by a Catholic, Martin Quigley, who was editor of the Motion Picture Herald, and a Jesuit priest, Father Daniel Lord. Okay. These are conservative religious ideals. No, don't get me wrong. These are not what I see as Christian ideals. These are what individuals who believe they are righteous above all and that they can control other people because of that righteousness, which, by the way, is not in the Bible. These are people that want to take those rights away. They will take away what you love. That is their goal. Donald Trump doesn't care about it. So he'll do all of those awful things that remove things we care about and our freedom to make those things. He'll remove them because he doesn't care about them, and it's going to get him support from this swath of religious zealots. Don't support him. Not only do you not support him, please, but vote for the Democratic Party. That means judges. Okay. That means, of course, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as her vice president, who, by the way, I have met many people from Tim Walz's actual classes, and apparently he's as kind and nice and helpful as he seems, which, let's face it, that's a rarity in politics. All right. So please don't vote for Donald Trump. Also, we know he's not in good health because they won't release his health status. All right. What does that mean? It means J.D. Vance would be put into the White House. The man who thinks women are naturally inferior to men, should be controlled by men, and he's the reason Ron Howard made that god-awful, crappy movie from J.D. Vance's book. Yes, I'm talking about Hillbilly Elegy. Okay? So not only is he crappy, is he a bad person? Does he want to take rights away? Does he not think other people have the right to have equal rights? But he put a black mark on Ron Howard's career. Ron Howard does not need that. We're still trying to rehabilitate his reputation by showing that Solo was the great Star Wars movie. And now you put that crap out? Screw you, J.D. Vance. So again, please, please, please vote Democratic this election. If you think that I don't like Democrats because they're just as bad as Republicans, that is not the case this time, guys. Even if that's something you've believed in the past, that is not the case. And voting a third party or not voting for the presidency is complicit in the electing of Donald Trump. You are not off the hook if you don't vote or you don't vote for the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, because you are literally taking away a potential vote from her, which means that Donald Trump has that advantage. You will be part of electing Donald Trump if you don't vote or you vote against Kamala Harris, even for a third party that's liberal. You can vote for those third parties, push for those changes, those leftist leaning changes that the mainstream Democratic candidates don't go for because they're looking for a broader middle ground audience. You can push for those in primary elections. Primary elections is where we can do that because that is where the Democratic Party can see trends and swing towards them to get their middle ground candidate more in line with the leftist leaning individuals. But you can't do that for a presidential election. You just can't because you will be getting the worst option elected. If you don't know how or where to vote, go to usa.gov/election day. Sorry, /election-day. You can just go to usa.gov and there'll be a big banner to click on election day info. All right. To understand who the Democratic individuals are for your area beyond the presidency, which of course is Kamala Harris with Vice President Tim Walz, you can go to https://democrats.org/who-we-are. Okay. Or just go to democrats.org and click on the Who We Are link at the top. That'll take you to a page. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can find the Democratic Party website for your state, and they will have lists of their recommendations for Democratic nominees. Those are the people that are most likely to win, and those are the people that are most likely to support helpful social change, leftist politics, even if you're middle ground. Left is a better thing than what is called the conservative party now, because you don't want your rights taken away. You don't want your movies taken away. You don't want things censored. Okay. Please do that. Democrats.org/who-we-are to find your local website of Democratic recommendations to vote for, and usa.gov/election-day to find out how you vote if you haven't done it before, what you need when you go to the polls, and where to go to the polls. USA.gov and Democrats.org. I know this has been a long rant. I know this has probably been kind of boring. Okay. I did shit on J.D. Vance, which is kind of fun. Donald Trump, to get crass, I don't even want him to just lose the election. I want him to lose the election and then shit himself to death on stage. Seriously, wouldn't that be the only thing that would come close, not even close, closest to him getting justice for how crappy he is and how terrible he is to everyone, even the people that think he's great and vote for him? Please vote. I'm not going to play any stingers at the end. We will be back next week with a new episode of Cult and Classic Films podcast where I will not proselytize my views at you. But again, these are not just things that I want to happen. These are things that everyone who loves cinema, loves rights and the freedom to create should care about. Vote Democrat. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next week.